Hello and welcome live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Gautam Roy, and coming up in the next 30 minutes. Heavy rains lash India's southern state of Tamil Nadu and neighbouring Sri Lanka due to a cyclonic depression over the Bay of Bengal. Bangladesh remains on edge after Indian religious figures' arrest. And thousands are returning home to South Lebanon as Israel-Hezbollah ceasefire comes into effect. First up, India's southern state Tamil Nadu has witnessed widespread rains as the depression over the Bay of Bengal has intensified into a deep depression. Projections by the Met Department has shown the deep depression may intensify into Cyclone Fengal. A red alert has been issued in the Nagapattinam, Mayiladuthurai and Tiruvarur districts. The cyclonic storm is predicted to bring strong winds, heavy rainfall and high sea waves along Tamil Nadu's coastal districts including Nagapattinam, Puducherry, Cuddalore and Chennai. The National Disaster Response Force has been deployed in Tamil Nadu's vulnerable districts like Nagapattinam, Mayiladuthurai and Cuddalore. Relief camps, medical teams and emergency operation centres have been set up to tackle the situation. Moreover, schools and colleges will also remain closed in several regions in anticipation of heavy rains. And Sri Lanka is also reeling under severe weather conditions as a deep depression over the southwest Bay of Bengal is likely to intensify into Cyclone Fengal. Heavy rains have triggered floods in Sri Lanka and the death toll has risen to 4. 6 people remain missing and 8 others have sustained injuries. The Sri Lankan Meteorology Department has reported that the deep depression is located 120 kilometers east of Trincomalee and that was at 8:30 in the morning today. Heavy rainfall exceeding 200 millimeters is expected in many regions. The department has urged naval and fishing communities to avoid deep and shallow sea areas around the island. In response, the Army and Naval Forces have been deployed for emergency relief operations. These include assisting children sitting for advanced level examinations. Hotlines have been established by the DMC and Sri Lanka Police to support affected residents. Also, the National Building Research Organisation has issued a red alert for potential landslides in Kandy, Matale and Novara Elia districts. Sri Lankan President Anurakumara Dissanayake has directed officials to provide immediate relief services to affected people in disaster-stricken areas. Let's now get you an update from DD India's Ahmed Moeed Faruqi joining us live from Colombo. Dr. Faruqi, hope all is well with you. And how's the weather right now in Colombo? Is it looking ominous?
A very good evening to all across the world who are watching us right now. Gautam, yes, you see the cyclonic storm has caused severe adverse weather conditions in entire Sri Lanka. However, the impact is more on the eastern coast as well as on the northern part of the island. However, the impact is also seen in other parts of the island, including in Western Province. I'm right now in Colombo. This is in the Western Province, and even here, an orange alert has been sounded with a possibility of rains to cross 100 mm over the coming 24 hours. In addition to that, winds of up to 40 to 50 km per hour are possible in the Western Province also. However, it is very, of course, it's a very difficult circumstance for people who are staying in the northern and north central provinces in Sri Lanka because right now the cyclonic storm is just adjacent to the northern part of the Sri Lankan island. As of 8:30 a.m. today morning, it was about 120 kilometers off the eastern side of Trincomalee, and it has further proceeded northwards. The further updates will probably be available to us later in the evening when meteorological department will give the details. However, as of now, the death toll has risen to 4 people across the island, with several people injured and about six still remaining missing. The DMC has said that they have issued hotlines for all those people who are seeking emergency relief and rescue, and the police also has deployed personnel across the island. Gautam.
And what are the possibilities of it indeed developing into this cyclone? Right now, it's still a deep depression, I believe.
Yes, Gautam. It has been said that the deep depression will intensify later. By evening today, we are expecting to hear more from the IMD as well as the Meteorological Department Sri Lanka with regard to the development into Cyclone Fengal. However, yes, even the deep depression has caused significant adverse conditions in the entire island, and even in parts of Tamil Nadu in India. At the same time, also want to mention here that several reservoirs are running at dangerously close level to the maximum limit. And in fact, Kelania River, one of the most important rivers in the western province, is also running close to the danger levels. And there's a possibility of flooding in various parts in the western province as well as the central provinces of Sri Lanka. Gautam.
Yes, and I hope, and we've given some details as well for our viewers, that enough measures have been taken to ensure that the loss to life and property is minimized, although according to your report itself, at least 4 people are already dead and 6 remain missing. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Farooqi. Now, unprecedented turmoil in Bangladesh continues after Hindu leader Chinmoy Krishnadas Brahmachari was arrested on Monday on sedition charges and not given bail. A young lawyer died on Tuesday in Chittagong court premises over denial of bail to the Hindu monk. The head of interim government of Bangladesh, Professor Muhammad Yunus, ordered a probe into the alleged killing and stepping up of security in the city as well. He urged people to keep calm and stay away from participating in any untoward activities. Meanwhile, the harassment of media personnel is also on the increase in Bangladesh. The Rights and Risks Analysis Group on Wednesday has filed a complaint with the UN Working Group on arbitrary detention against illegal and arbitrary detention of Chinmoy Krishnadas Brahmachari. And in India, MLAs of the BJP staged a protest in the state of West Bengal, marching from the State Assembly to Bangladesh High Commission on Wednesday, demanding the release of Chinmoy Krishnadas. Earlier on Tuesday, the Ministry of External Affairs had expressed deep concern over Chinmoy Krishnadas's arrest and had asked the government to protect all minorities. In Pakistan, former Prime Minister Imran Khan's party suspended street protests demanding his release from jail after a sweeping midnight raid by security forces in capital Islamabad. According to the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf party, that's Imran Khan's party, and its statement, the party had announced a temporary suspension of the protest in which at least 6 people, including 4 paramilitary soldiers and 2 protesters, were killed. The heavily fortified red zone of Pakistan's capital was empty of protesters, but several of their vehicles were left behind, including the remains of a truck from which Bushra Bibi, that's Imran Khan's wife, had been leading the protests that appeared charred due to a fire. PTI had planned on staging a sit-in in the red zone until the release of Imran Khan, who's been in jail since August last year. Now, the prosecutor of the International Criminal Court has said on Wednesday that he would seek an arrest warrant for Myanmar's military leader Min Aung Hlaing for crimes against humanity over the alleged persecution of the Rohingyas. A panel of 3 judges will now decide if they agree there are reasonable grounds to believe General Min Aung Hlaing bears criminal responsibility for the deportation and persecution of Rohingyas in Myanmar as well as Bangladesh. There's no set time frame for their decision, but in general, it takes around 3 months to rule on issuing an arrest warrant.
First application for an arrest warrant against a high-level Myanmar government official that my office is filing. More will follow. Today's application is the outcome of an independent and impartial investigation based upon a wide variety of evidence from numerous sources, such as witness testimonies, including from insider witnesses, and authenticated, credible photographic and video materials.
Now on to West Asia, a temporary yet awaited relief for several displaced civilians at Israeli-Lebanon border as a ceasefire deal between Israel and Lebanon has come into effect starting 200 hours GMT or 7:30 IST on Wednesday. Here's more in this report.
It is a breather for these civilians as ceasefire comes into effect. These are the visuals of traffic on the road near Sidon. The displaced people are returning to southern Lebanon. The ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon came into effect from 2 hours GMT or 7:30 IST on Wednesday after 14 months long conflict that started on October 7th last year with Hezbollah launching cross-border strikes on Israel. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, in a televised speech, said that Israel is implementing the ceasefire deal to bring a halt to its conflict with Hezbollah in Lebanon, but will respond forcefully to any violation.
So why implement a ceasefire now? There are three main reasons. The first reason is to focus on the Iranian threat. The second reason is to give our forces a breather and replenish stocks. And the third reason for having a ceasefire is to separate the fronts and isolate Hamas. From day 2 of the war, Hamas was counting on Hezbollah to fight by its side. When Hezbollah is out of the picture, Hamas is left alone in the fight. Our pressure on it will intensify, and that will help us in our sacred mission of releasing our hostages.
The ceasefire agreement was brokered by the United States and France.
Fighting across the Lebanese-Israeli border will end. Will end. This is designed to be a permanent cessation of hostilities. What is left of Hezbollah and other terrorist organizations will not be allowed, well, I emphasize, will not be allowed to threaten the security of Israel again. Over the next 60 days, the Lebanese army and state security forces will deploy and take control of their own territory once again. Hezbollah terrorist infrastructure in southern Lebanon will not be allowed to be rebuilt. And over the next 60 days, Israel will gradually withdraw its remaining forces. And civilians on both sides will soon be able to safely return to their communities.
Je tenais à saluer l'accord de cessez-le-feu.
This ceasefire needs to be respected in the long term. In order to restore the Lebanese people's security, the Israeli people's security, permit the safe return of displaced people from these two countries to their homes, and therefore allow the restoration of the sovereignty of the Lebanon. This agreement should also open the path for a ceasefire too, long awaited with regard to the incomparable suffering of the population in Gaza.
The Israeli army, warned soon after the ceasefire began, said that residents of South Lebanon should not approach Israel Defense Forces positions and villages its forces had ordered to be evacuated. As part of the truce, Lebanon forces will begin their deployment towards the south over a 60-day period, during which Israel will have a phased withdrawal from Lebanese territory. The deal also requires Hezbollah to retreat from the southern border. Leaders from across the globe are welcoming the deal. India has welcomed the ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon that has been announced. The statement says, "We welcome the ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon that has been announced. We have always called for de-escalation, restraint, and return to the path of dialogue and diplomacy. We hope these developments will lead to peace and stability in the wider region."
So we will be working with the new Trump administration in a good manner and look at what is ahead of us. I have some experience to working with President Trump from his former mandate, so there's something to build on. And I think very important is that we analyze together what our shared interests are and work with that.
The ceasefire promises to end a conflict across the Israeli-Lebanese border that has claimed several lives. But will the conflict actually end remains to be seen. With Bureau Inputs, Ayushi Bhatnagar's report for DD India.
And still to come in this edition of DD India Live, former German Chancellor Angela Merkel has come out with her memoirs. We'll be turning some of the pages with a little help of our German friends at DW. Indian-American Jay Bhattacharya becomes the first Indian-American to be nominated by Donald Trump for a top US administrative post.
This week on Defense Dynamic, we delve into Russia-Ukraine war and the game-changing missile systems shaping this conflict. These include Storm Shadow, ATACMS, Oceanic and the Avangard. We also spotlight Apache AH-64E attack helicopters coming into Indian Army to be deployed in deserts on the western border, and India's emergence as a leader in defense logistics by becoming major international aerospace maintenance, repair and overhauling hub. Catch it all this Wednesday at 8 p.m. IST only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, former German Chancellor Angela Merkel, who was in power from 2005 to 2021, launched a memoir, Freedom, Memories 1954-2021, in an on-stage interview before a Berlin audience on Tuesday. Still popular when she left office in 2021, Merkel ended an almost unbroken 3-year silence with Tuesday's launch. Her book has been published in more than 30 countries and translated into 30 languages. Her legacy has faced more scrutiny since she left office.
A lot of things are liberating. It was liberating to no longer be in office. It was liberating to write this book. And now a new phase is dawning. And when you hold it in your hands for the first time, such a gem, you stand before yourself a bit in awe and say, wow.
Well, let's find out more about this memoir. DW's Thomas Sparrow joins us from Berlin. Good evening to you, Thomas. Now, how has the former Chancellor's book been received in Germany and in Europe? Has it caused a stir considering the current political environment in Germany where elections are just around the corner?
It has indeed caused a stir because, as you mentioned in your introduction, Angela Merkel basically broke a 3-year silence with the publication of that book. She had promised once she left office in 2021 that she would want to be out of the spotlight, specifically to focus on writing her political memoirs, which have now been published globally. If you ask some who view Chancellor Merkel favorably, they understand that this is a possibility for them to delve further into the legacy of the Chancellor, to understand some of her political decisions. But there has also been criticism from those who think that Merkel, in that book, in those nearly 700 pages, basically does not show much regret about some elements of that legacy that have been under scrutiny since 2021. For example, her migration policy from 2015 and 16, which allowed a large number of asylum seekers to come into Germany. For example, her economic policies, especially Germany's dependence towards Russia, another topic that has been strongly criticized here in public debate, but where Angela Merkel defended her political decisions. So a lot of opinions here in Germany, both from those who view that favorably, who were looking forward to the publication of this book, and also those who are actually more critical of the legacy of the former Chancellor Angela Merkel.
Right, definitely quite a lot to really chew on where that memoir is concerned. Now, what has Angela Merkel said about Germany's foreign relations, foreign figures, leaders and ties with other nations, especially India?
If we talk specifically about India, Angela Merkel has a whole chapter on India and China. So on basically how she dealt with those two countries, how she focused on relationships with those two countries. It's not a very long chapter, but nevertheless, the fact that she specifically focuses on India and China is something that is worth mentioning. And specifically on India, she stressed how she had relations not only with the current government, but also with the previous government, how she also focused on building so-called intergovernmental consultations with India. That's a very high level of political debate. Only with a certain number of countries, Germany has these intergovernmental consultations, and it's seen as an honor to have them with certain countries, and India was one of them. However, she also stressed that there were differences, especially when it came to the interpretation of religious freedom. So that was one element where she said that she was not able to see eye to eye with the Indian government. But beyond that, she also focused on relations with the United States, both with Barack Obama and also with Donald Trump, two very different leaders with which she had relations, but also, for example, with Vladimir Putin in Russia. A leader that she knows very well, but that she also was quick to criticize and to show where they were not able to see eye to eye. So all in all, for those who are interested in international politics, for those who are interested in understanding a bit more Germany's foreign policy during Merkel's time in office, this is certainly a book that will provide very many insights.
Definitely, we'll look out for that at bookstores. Thanks a lot for joining us, Thomas Sparrow. Now, British lawmakers on Tuesday voted in favour of plans to introduce anti-smoking rules. Being one of the world's strictest anti-smoking rules, the bill aims to make vapes less appealing and would ensure anyone aged 15 this year or younger would be banned from ever buying cigarettes. The Tobacco in Vapes bill will also ban vape advertising and the sale of vapes in vending machines and restrict appealing packages of flavours. Subject to consultation, the new bill would give the government powers to extend the indoor smoking ban to specific outdoor spaces as well.
These measures add up to the most significant public health intervention in a generation, a giant leap in this government's mission to build a healthy society, and in doing so, helping to build a more healthy economy too. I'll give way to the honourable gentleman.
So very eager to smoking out. Now, more names have been announced for Donald Trump's team. The US President-elect on Tuesday chose Stanford academic and US COVID policy critic Jay Bhattacharya to run the National Institutes of Health, the country's top public funder of medical research, with a budget of about $47.3 billion. Trump has named Jamieson Greer as his trade representative, a key figure in implementing Trump's economic agenda, particularly his plans to use tariffs to raise revenue and help bring more manufacturing to US shores. Trump also picked Kevin Hassett as his top economic advisor, bringing the member of his first administration to head the White House National Economic Council, which helps set domestic and international economic policy. Texas Governor Greg Abbott and incoming Trump administration border czar Tom Homan served Thanksgiving meals to National Guard soldiers and state troopers, praising their efforts to secure the US-Mexico border. The event in Edinburgh, Texas, highlighted the continued focus on border security by both state leadership and the anticipated Trump administration. And US President Joe Biden will be attending Thanksgiving in Nantucket. Biden has a decades-long family tradition of traveling to Nantucket for the Thanksgiving holiday. Thanksgiving in the US began with the 1621 Harvest Feast, organized by the Pilgrims to show gratitude for their safe journey and a successful harvest. Namibia's vice president was among the first to vote in elections Wednesday that could see her become the desert nation's first woman leader, even as the ruling SWAPO party faces the strongest challenge yet to its 34-year grip on power. Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah, a 72-year-old veteran of the Southwest Africa People's Organization, cast a ballot in the capital Windhoek as polls opened with long queues outside many polling stations in the sparsely populated country. India's National Cadet Corps, or NCC, has launched a song urging people to keep the Yamuna clean. The Yamuna is the largest tributary of the Ganges River and passes through the national capital of Delhi. The river has been worshipped for centuries but now faces pollution from sewage and debris being dumped into it. The NCC is a uniformed organization which regularly carries out cleaning the Yamuna and its banks in Delhi.
You people, you dirtied the rivers, you destroyed the cities, we people we did, we all together. These are sacred rivers. Why is the river sacred? Because they give us life. Without water, without river, there would be no life, there would be no human beings. And therefore it is water and river which gives us life. So is it fair to destroy rivers? Is it fair?
Let's now take a look at some other stories making news around the world. A rare Pudu fawn born earlier this month at a biopark in Argentina has captured the attention of scientists and conservationists alike. The birth marks a significant event in the study and conservation of the Pudu, the world's smallest deer species. Weighing just 1.21 kilograms at birth, the fawn is both delicate and vulnerable and cute too. A group of elephants in Thailand are undergoing specialized training to become mountain rescue workers. The project aims to equip them with the skills necessary to assist in rescue operations in mountainous areas where traditional rescue teams may face difficulties. The program focuses on teaching the elephants how to navigate difficult terrain, carry injured individuals and clear obstacles. And as South Africa experiences its heaviest November snowstorm on Wednesday, 2 pandas were captured enjoying the snow at a zoo. The video showed twin pandas eating bamboo, sitting on a tree and playing in the snow. And that's all we have in this edition of DD India Live. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS. You can scan the QR code on the screen and download the app right now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.